Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. This is Michael. I'm glad to be back on here. I'm still having a little bit of a raspy voice from all that sinus drainage mess that I had. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. But today I want to talk about your food storage and your resupply plan more specifically. So I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I prep for the long term because what's the worst things that can happen? I got a little extra food that I can eat. I can give away. I can do whatever. There's too many prepping channels out there, professionals telling people to stock up for 2 weeks, stock up for a month, 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. But I personally don't have the faith in our country, not the people, the government, that says that if something major happened, that they could get things back to an operational normal or some sense of normal so that life can get back going the way it should. I don't believe they can do it. I mean, look at Hurricane, Katrina. I mean, it took them how long? And come on, really? The government ain't coming to save you. But anyway, so what I want to talk about is your food stores and your overall feeding your family and your group plan. So, guys, if you've got 2 weeks worth of food, great. That is a great short-term, cushion for you to fall back on. If you get laid off during Christmas holidays for 2 weeks or something, you get sick for a few weeks and can't draw your paycheck. You know what? We had this at work today. Aflac, y'all. For just a few bucks a week out of your check before taxes, you can get that taken care of. That's just another form of prepping, But a couple of weeks worth of food, you're just getting started. You're just getting started. I'm going to show you some food storage, and this is not all of it. Some of you are going to think, holy crap, he's crazy as heck. And some of you are going to say, I want to get to that point. And then some of you are going to say, he ain't got that much. So my goal and my point in this video is, what are you going to do when that 2 weeks worth of food is up, or that 2 months, or that 6 months worth of food is up, and there's been an EMP, and 80-90% of the vehicles aren't able to travel up and down the road, and if they are able to run, have the roads been cleared from all the vehicles that are sitting there that will no longer run? Where are you going to get fuel? If stations don't have electricity to where their pumps will pump fuel, where the refineries can make gas from the crude oil and get it to the stations, whether it be through a pipeline, which we all know has been shut down. I'm sure there's more, but still got a valid point. And trucks hauling it from point A to point B to a local storage facility that is going to deliver it to their area, to all the individual stations. What are you going to do if those trucks can't run? What are you going to do if that plant can't run and make more fuel? You've got to have a resupply plan, guys. So you need to be having seeds stored. And I used to be big on saying get heirloom seeds, get this non-GMO, all this. You know what? At this point, just get seeds. If it's food, just get seeds. If you've never tried to grow it and you find it, doesn't matter. Buy seeds. Seeds are cheap. There's a lot in a little bitty package. You can get some from a lot of online sources like MI Gardener and things like that are good quality seeds. You're getting what you pay for. And you've got to be able to plant a garden. So how many of you plant a garden big enough to completely take care of all your non-meat needs for an entire year. Most people don't. Most people that do garden supplement what they buy from the grocery store with their garden, or they supplement their garden with what they buy with from the grocery store. So you've got to have a resupply plan, guys. And I don't know how many of you ever talked to a farmer or to someone that gardens on a regular basis, but every year is not a great year. You know, you can plant 5 years in a row of corn, and then that 6th year, you get 30% of what it's been producing. What are you going to do if that first year, when you really need that food to grow well and produce a lot to feed your family and your group, and you get a 20 or 30% yield out of that garden? You've got to have a longer term plan than that. My plan is to have a minimum of 2 years worth of food. And the reason I say that is just what I was just talking about. What if crap hits the fan? What if this country was hit by an EMP at the very beginning of winter? What are you going to plant? Nothing. You've got to survive until spring so you can get things in the ground, grow them to feed your family and your group. So if it starts at the beginning of winter, you've got several months of weather where you can't plant. And then it's a mad rush to get that garden done and get it in there. And a lot of us don't grow enough gardens, enough items to guarantee we're going to have a good yield off of that garden that first time. There's a learning curve like with anything else. So if you only get a 20 or 30% yield out of the garden that you planted that you thought would feed the 10 people in your group or the 20 people in your group, somebody's going to be hungry. So you need enough food stored to feed them through that first year. And then what you do produce is a little bit of a cushion for you, okay? That second year, hopefully that learning curve has happened and you can grow a much better garden and produce a lot more food and be able to sustain you and your group for another year, especially with the little bit you produced the first year. So you got to think along those lines. If an EMP was to hit, knock out the power grid, their electronics in this country, it's going to take out the southern half of Canada, the northern half of Mexico, all of the United States, if it was centered. You know, there's 7 sub-power plants in the United States that control the majority of the power that we consume. And if you take any 3 of those down, the other 4 cannot sustain the load and they will fail. The transformers in those big power plants or substations are huge. They're only made in one place. Guess where they're made, y'all? China. There's a 2-year waiting list to get those transformers. So how many does the U.S. government have stockpiled and put up and protected from an EMP? 0. You would think something that important we would have put up, stockpiled in a protective location so that we're not waiting. So if communication is down and all electronics are down, how are we going to place the order for those transformers? And do you really think that a country that has typically been our enemy, not our friend, country, not the people, going to move us to the top of the list just because we got hit with an EMP? Odds are very likely that they were involved with it. I don't think they're coming to our rescue. The government hired a bunch of people that did a study about an EMP, what would happen to the people of the United States if the United States was hit with a major EMP and took out the electronics that it could take out. Vehicles, computers, phones, power, all of that stuff. And the conclusion from that study, or that commission, was this in a nutshell. In the first 12 months of a major power grid collapse, in the first 12 months, 90% of the people in the United States would perish. So 9 out of 10 people would not make it through the end of the first year. In the second 12 months, half of those that are left would not make it by the end of the second year. That's giving you a 95% death rate in 24 months. Now, I know there are a lot more preppers out there than there used to be, and I know there's a lot more places that are more prepared for it than there used to be, but nowhere near enough. Even if it's half, there's 340 million people in the United States. You're telling me that it's okay that 170 million people die in the first 2 years? I don't think so. Not my family, not my group. You've got to prepare for that kind of thing. So I'm getting kind of long-winded. I apologize. I'm already at 11-minute mark, but I'm going to cut in right here and show y'all a video, and then I'll come back afterwards and wrap this thing up. Please, guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button. It means a lot. It helps break that algorithm with YouTube. Share the channel when you can, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I want to help as many people as I can get to where they need to be so that more people will survive when crap does hit the fan. And the only way I can do that is if you guys help me by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing the page when possible. I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Okay, guys. Here is a look at some food storage. So what I'm going to do is zoom in and show you what I've got down here. As you can see, that's family size tea bags. Been in that bag since 3/22/20. And then of course in the back there's sugar, which sugar doesn't go bad. So, you know, you've got other things that's been in here longer. Different types, you know, there's cherry Kool-Aid, for example. Grandkids and stuff are going to need things to drink. And, you know, dry beans, as you see labeled on that tote, and it's actually fuller than it looks, but you can see how this one is full, and it says coffee and sweets, and this is pastas. And then I can't even read what's on those in the back, but they're full, and that's full, and that's full, and this one's full. And I've started on this one, and that's all dry food storage. That, you know, those bags hold about 6 to 8 pounds depending on what you put in there. About 8 pounds of sugar. Flour and things are much lighter because they're so much fluffier, and they don't last as long, but you rotate through. So then I'm going to show you some things here. You know, you can see clearly there's some carrots and potatoes in that one, and I've got some okra that I let go to seed so I can replant that. And then in this case here, you can see there are peas in those. That's sweet potatoes, more potatoes. You know, get creative with what you can. You can a lot of food yourself. Now, the price of the jars and the lids and all that stuff has gone up tremendously. So there are, you know, some expense to doing it that way. I'm trying not to show you everything else. So if you come up top, you see this shelf here, and that's some beef or chicken broth that my other half at the time decided she was going to try to do. But anyway, hope that light doesn't blind the camera, but you know, if you stand back and look, there's 3 shelves of home canned foods that will last a very long time, especially if you rotate through. And then if you come over to this side, this is mostly desserts and sweets, like down here. You see some of this is with the skin still on them, pears and pears without. And we got, what is that, blueberries, more pears. I mean, I've got a couple pear trees. We canned pears forever. It seemed like about 200 pounds of them a few years ago, so a couple years ago. And then all of this up here is jellies and jams that she has made, and some syrups. And then of course there's more on that shelf above. So, you know, I'm not short at all on jellies, jams, and things like that, but I just wanted to give you a little motivation. And there's some more totes over in this corner, by the way. That's all sugar. But, you know, I go to the fresh packing house and get green beans and wash them and go through them and snap them and all that. And I've done that. I've done some whole ones as well. So a couple bushels of those. There's some more down here. And then, you know, I buy chicken by the case and bag it up myself. But that's just one way to get it a whole lot cheaper than just picking up out the meat counter. And, you know, you can come in here and look, and yes, I know there are much better brands and stuff, but seeds are going to be valuable. When you need to plant a garden, you can't go to town and buy seeds. So, you know, if you look at this little container right here, all of these seeds, you know, that's winter squash. What is this? Summer squash. What was these I picked up to begin with? Some more summer squash. So most of that squash of some type. And then there's another container, and another container, and another container, and then there's two more, and a smaller container here. You have got to have a replenish plan in your prepping. I also buy, you know, the cheap spices and things, and keep that kind of stuff in here. You know, this stuff here lasts a lot longer when you freeze it. So pickling lime, you know, you can keep a lot of that stuff much longer in a freezer than you can outside of one. But I really just wanted to try to motivate some of y'all, and I'm going to avoid the mess, because I can't keep it all clean all the time. So I'm just being real with y'all. But, you know, I keep extra oils. You know, this is 10W30 oil. This is actually 2-cycle motor oil, because you're going to need that for chainsaws and weed eaters and things like that. And then engine oil, there's a gallon here and a gallon back there, and then another of the Valvoline 520. And then I've got a case, well, actually it's a little less than half a case now, of the quart bottles for use as you go through. Though you've got to be able to maintain your equipment, whatever may survive after crap hits the fan. So, but here's what I wanted to get to. You see what's in there. Those cheap ramen noodles. And I tell people all the time that, you know, I've never eaten a ramen noodle in my life. I know most people have. A lot of people love them. But it's not something that I even care for. But I've got 6 of those totes. If you can look in the back, there's 2 behind this and another one behind that one. So there's 6 of those totes of different flavors of ramen noodles that will feed a lot of people. It's going to fill bellies. It's not going to be all the vitamins and nutrients that you need, but it will definitely keep somebody from starving. And like I said before, you know, you need to be stockpiling multivitamins, complete vitamins that's going to help you stay healthy when you can't get a full healthy meal every day. So, you know, and then if you look a little further back right there, there's, I don't know how many cases of salt, 5 in that one stack, and then another here, and a partial in the front and a partial there. And, you know, and then I'm going to, there's canned goods up here. And last time I counted, it was around 700 canned goods up there. So, you know, and then I've got a section of syrups and store-bought pasta sauces and pickles and barbecue sauce, and, you know, some canned meats, pork and beans, and, you know, all of that. And there's some more home canned stuff. Let me turn this thing around. You know, this was done in July 26th of 20, and it's whole pears that she did a lot of. So there's some eggs. I don't know how they're going to turn out. But either way, you've got to get yourself motivated. You've got to get the supplies and materials that you need in order to be able to replenish your food supply if you can't go to the grocery store. So with that being said, you know, I've got other things which I'm not going to get the ladder out and climb up there, but you know, you can see right there up front, I've got a little number 12 electric grinder, and I've processed many a deer and pigs and stuff with that. And I can't see back there any further, but it's an old tackle box, but there's some heaters. And then back in the back, my light's blinding me. I've got a hand crank cuber, so I don't have to have electricity for that. I've got that grinder, and of course I cut meat for so long, so I know how to process the animals. But guys, if I don't care how much food you've stockpiled, if you look at this, a lot of people go, holy crap, he's got a lot of food. But the truth of the matter is not that there's a lot of food here. It's that you've got to have a replenishment plan to when this food is gone. How can you refill these jars and recan? So you need canning lids, you need rings, you need pickling lime, you know, all of those things that you use for canning. And you've got to have a way to actually do the canning. So, you know, most of this is pressure canned and so on, but that's where all those seeds come involved. Is, you know, you may not have a great garden the first year or the second year, because there's a lot of people, including myself, that's going to have a learning curve when it gets down to the point where you've got to plant food in order to have food. And if you can have enough food stored to feed you, your family, your group, whatever, for 2 years is my goal, okay? Which I have got that minimum required done. But 2 years worth of food. And the reason I say that is because what if crap hits the fan right at the beginning of winter? You're not going to get out there and break the ground and plant. You've got to wait till winter's over with, and then you're going to start planting. So then you've got to grow it and you've got to harvest it. So what if you didn't grow enough? Or what if it was a poor crop where you did your best, you just couldn't get enough food out of it? So you still got to eat until the next year. So you need food to feed you that first year, and then be able to plant a garden. And then you need to expect that first year garden to fail and have enough food stored to feed you the second year while you do a second crop. And hopefully by then the learning curve is over with, and people will be able to grow you know, much better. And especially as I watched another YouTuber the other day saying, you know, grow what's best for your area. I am not a big fan of okra, as you saw those that I let go to seed, but holy crap, they grow like wild weeds down here when I plant them. It's more okra than I know what to do with most of the time. So keep that in mind. Just because you've got your 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months worth of food, what if it doesn't get better by the end of that time frame? And how will you replenish that food? All right, guys, so I've showed you that video. That is not all of my food stored. That is a big chunk of it. I don't just talk this stuff. I am what I call myself a practical prepper. I'm not going to dig a bunker and live in a bunker for 30 years after a nuclear bomb hits. That's not something I look forward to. Where I live, I'm about 60 miles from Fort Benning. I'm about 60 miles from Warner Robins Air Force Base, and I'm about 50 miles from the Air Force Base in Daugherty County or Albany, Georgia. Either one of those gets hit, the blast radius off a large nuclear bomb is 100 miles. I'm done anyway. I'm not going to live in a bunker for 30 years. So I'm a practical prepper because I prep for what I think can be survived. And I want to help my family survive. I don't care about me. But I want my kids and my grandkids to carry on. And when I say family, some of those are by blood and some of those are by choice. So y'all think about that. Need to step your game up, guys. Look at all the people doing videos out there talking about how empty the shelves are when you go in Walmart or your local grocery store. I've heard the other day that there's some stores that are limiting how many meat packages you can purchase when you go in the store. Well, I don't know about you, but if I go in the grocery store and they tell me I can't have what I want and it's in their counter and I'm willing to pay the price for it, I'll take my business elsewhere. I'm not about to allow someone else to tell me what I can and can't do with my own money and the way I want to do it. But that's individual choice. But guys, I do appreciate it. Once again, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and share the channel when you can. It's the only way I can reach more people to help people get knowledgeable and help guide them in a way that's a sustainable, survivable preparedness. Thank y'all very much. Remember the two things I always tell you. Jesus loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe.